Hello and welcome to Your Schools. I'm Lynn Turner Fitzgerald, and my guest today is Kyra Gaskill. Kyra is, tell me your official title. It's elementary, I know.
Yes, Executive Director of K-5 Education.
Okay. That's a big job.
It is. It's a good job.
Yeah. Now you said you have been with School District 2 for a number of years.
Yes. This is, I think, my 28th year.
Oh, wow. Okay. There's a few things I wanted to cover with you today. First of all, teacher recruitment and teacher retention. Nationwide, it's an issue. Nationwide, it's a problem. Is it here?
Yes, it is. We're no different than everywhere else in the nation, especially, I believe, things were already challenging, but after COVID, really changed the face of what education looks like. A lot of student behavior issues. A lot of students are dealing with a lot of things kids didn't used to deal with. No fault of theirs, of course.
A lot of adults are too.
Correct.
Right.
So making it very challenging for teachers to not get paid very well, to work super hard, and they need a lot more resources and a lot more support.
Mm-hmm. Are there specific issues that they're dealing with, or is it just kind of across the board?
I think it probably depends on which grade level. You know, every student is different, so you might have certain schools that have more challenges than others. Mental health issues are a big issue in Billings, probably everywhere. Also, drug use.
Among students?
Among students in the older grades, also parents.
Parents, okay, for the elementary.
Correct. So there's a lot of, parents that are dealing with a lot of trauma and stress. It impacts students, and, they carry that with them as well. So you see a lot of behaviors. It's hard to learn when you're coming to school, when your brain isn't ready to learn because your basic needs haven't been met.
I would imagine for some of these students, though, school is the safe place.
Yes, I would agree with that.
They can come to school and know that they're treated like everybody else and protected, maybe.
Yes, I would say that's true, and making sure they're getting fed and they have clothing and all of those basic needs. We do meet a lot of those basic needs for students, which we have to, because if they can't have those basic needs met, they can't learn.
They can't learn, right?
Right, correct.
Okay. Well, is it a struggle now recruiting new teachers?
It is. Teacher programs across the nation, a lot of them are closing their teacher education programs.
Why is that?
Because they don't have people coming into education. So even like this semester in elementary, we only have, I believe, 4 student teachers currently, right now in our K-5 education school, in our schools. And it used to be, I remember getting lists as a principal of, hey, we can't find a teacher to mentor this student teacher. Can we get a volunteer? Who would be willing to do this?
So many student teachers.
And now we have very few people that are actually going into education.
Well, what's the solution?
Well, I believe this is more than just a Billings, Montana and a Montana issue, but don't believe teachers are compensated the way that they deserve to be compensated. There's often the people, well, you only work 9 months. I remember when I was a teacher and people would say that, and I would be like, yeah, and all summer I prepare for the next year. We take classes, we pay for our classes ourselves, continuing education. It's never really a break. And like, oh, well, you only work 8 to 4. And it's
No,
like,
you
I've
don't.
never met a teacher that only worked 8 to 4. We have amazing teachers. Providing better salary, better benefits, more support, more resources, would make more people, I think, want to go in it, into teaching. Colleges also, better preparation. If we can work more directly with the colleges, and I know we've been trying really hard, and Billings has been doing a great job with that, is what do you really need to know to be a teacher? And it's of course, you have to know, theory and different things like that, but really the practical side of what does it take to be a teacher? What does it look like? So a lot of those basic skills you already have, so you're able to handle the day-to-day, more time in classrooms, so you know what it is in a classroom that you really have to do.
Right.
It's great on paper or sitting in a college class saying, you know, these are the things that you're going to have to do, and then actually doing it are completely different.
Oh, sure. How many students are in a classroom typically in elementary?
It depends, because we have different accreditation standards. So like kindergarten, first grade, and second grade, the accreditation standard for the state of Montana is 20 students. And then third and fourth grade is 28, and fifth grade is 30.
That's a little frightening.
Yes.
30 fifth graders.
Yes. You know, it's best when you don't have to have that many kids, but it all depends just on the enrollment in that school.
Sure.
And some years you might have, you know, higher numbers, and then more students move in. So because you go to your attendance area, you know, the school where you live, it's kind of a gamble and a guess. You're not sure how many new kids are going to come, how many current students are going to leave the school. So
Right.
we have to staff based on what we know.
Right. And that changes constantly.
It does change constantly. Every day when I pull up reports of looking, you know, what are our numbers looking at, they're constantly changing, some schools more than others.
Yeah. Let's go back to the teacher training, though. MSU Billings at one time, Eastern Montana College, was a teacher's college, right?
Correct.
That was the thing, is that they educated educators. Has that changed?
No, I mean, they still have a program, and actually both Rocky and MSU Billings work closely and are very open to what do they need to know, you know, what do our students need to know, how do we need to prepare them. So I think that's just one small piece, is making sure once we get them in the program that they're prepared, but it's what do we do to get them into these programs is a bigger concern. We are very capable and happy to work and collaborate with the colleges, and they are with us as well. But how do we get them into the program to begin with is a much bigger issue.
Well, and you mentioned low salaries, low pay. It's no secret across the nation. But I recently read a statistic that Montana has the lowest in the nation starting salary for teachers.
Yes, that's true.
What's the solution? I mean, is more money the solution?
I think that is a big part of it, because if you go to, you know, it's a professional degree, you have to pay for 4 years of college to become a teacher, minimal. You know, most of them, a lot of teachers have master's degree as well. So you're putting so much money into your education to come out, and a lot of people have student loans that you really can't afford to pay for rent, get a mortgage, you know, pay for a family on a teacher's salary. And so I believe a lot more people would be going into other professional careers where you get a 4-year degree and then you are compensated at a much higher rate.
Right.
Our beginning teachers obviously make so much less because of the way the pay scale is. So when you're first starting, it's so much lower than when you get experience and more education.
Yeah.
So to start out, it is very difficult for somebody to either have their own family or be single and survive on So yes, it is more money. It would be more money from the state, from the legislature to increase the amount of funding that is provided to schools.
What about incentives, though, like repaying college loans? If someone dedicates themselves to 4 years in a district or 5 years in a district, their student debt is wiped out. Is that, again, that's a legislature
Yes,
issue,
all
I'm
of
sure.
those things. Teacher retention, when you're looking currently at other jobs opening up places, at businesses and other areas, there's signing on bonuses. There are retention after so many years. You know, after 3 years, you get this amount of money. After 6 years, you get this amount of money. Those are all wonderful incentives that I think would increase teachers staying and actually becoming teachers.
Right.
Because you have to make money to live.
Right. Well, and the rural communities are struggling greatly trying to get teachers to come to their community.
Correct.
One, I can't remember the community, but it was Northwest Montana. They had actually gone to virtual teachers. So there's not a human teacher in the classroom. Is that right?
I do know in some districts, I don't know specifically who, but I know that some districts, because they do not have teachers, they might hire like an instructional parapro, what we call an IPP, who would, because you have to have someone to still monitor students. But if you can't find someone who is qualified and certified to teach, there are programs out there that the teacher might be live or might not be. Sometimes, you know, you have both a live person there teaching, and then other times students are doing work independently, and then other times the teacher is there. There are definitely certain cases like that all over probably Montana happening because they can't find qualified teachers.
How are we doing in school district 2? Are we staffed at the level that you need to be?
So we currently, like probably 2 days before school started, we finally hired our last person. One of the things we're having to do now is get like emergency authorization based on which the state has passed rules saying if you can't find a fully certified teacher, here are the criteria to be able to do an emergency authorization, like a bachelor's degree, working on towards a degree program for education, have had instructional, paraprofessional, or other educational experience even though they didn't have a degree. So we are working on cases like that. The student teachers that we're talking about is that we don't want them to be pulled before their student teaching experience is over because it tends to set them up for failure. You know, you just pull them in without having enough experience. So sometimes they can be pulled a little early if there's an emergency.
Placed in their own classroom.
And placed in their own classroom as long as they have a mentor, someone they can continue working with. We've done that in one instance this year. So we just basically are calling people who retired, people who left having a family, like, can you come back even part-time? Like, what can we do to make sure that our classrooms are staffed with, teachers? And then helping support them and those schools with how do we train those people who have been out for a long time or who have never really had their own classroom. And that's challenging as well, but something that we have to do.
Wow. There's also a coaching program. Is that new this year under Dr. Garcia?
Yes, so one of the big pushes, and we have these top 4 priorities for the district, and one of those is cultivating talent is what we call it, which is really making sure that we are empowering our admin and mostly our teachers on how to increase student performance. Across the board, pretty much our scores for all AA schools, we have ranked as the lowest or the lowest 2 or 3, and this is not new. Our scores have kind of stayed like this as long as I've been in education. So what do we really need to do to make that change? And one of the most effective ways of increasing student achievement is through coaching, and it can be done in a variety of ways. We already have some math and reading coaches, not nearly enough, who go in, model in classrooms, provide professional development. But Dr. Garcia, when he came in, was like, do you not have an instructional model through your administration? And we did not. Seldom were people just...
What does that mean exactly?
So it means that the professional development first started with all of the executive directors that have to do with instruction. And what does it look like? What are the important pieces of instruction? What are the core pieces of instruction? What are you looking for? Do they have curriculum provided for them? Are the objectives that is being taught aligned with that curriculum? Is there evidence of learning? Are they assessing students? Do we have proper assessments that will monitor those things? Are you having professional development for your teachers? Is that professional development related to those areas that are the most important things? Are students engaged? How do you increase engagement? So our job, my job, and Kim Anthony, who is also another executive director of K-5, and then Gordon Klasna is the executive director of 612. after we've been doing all this professional development, our job is then to work with the principals because they are the ones in the schools. Sure. And so then it's working with them. So they're knowing what they can do to provide support and resources and what to look for, what their school might be missing. So we'll go into a classroom, for example, 5-10 minutes, we'll be in there, we talk to the principal like, okay, what in your school are you seeing are all the things that are in place that need to be, okay? And then we go through all that. What are you seeing that are the missing components that we know makes students learn and improve their academic achievement? And then we'll discuss like what resources do they need. We don't talk to the teachers, like our job, unless it's like a positive, like I always say, you know, like, and our teachers are amazing. And what Dr. Garcia says, and I agree 100%, anything that we're seeing that is lacking is because we have not provided the support and the resources to make sure that everybody is getting what they need. Our teachers have always done the very best they can. They're amazing. Being a principal all of these years, I never had a teacher that did not do their very best and want to make sure that kids learned. And some had more resources, more training, more skills, and those that didn't, then it was up to us to provide that. But I can tell you, the accountability piece on admin, I never had somebody as a principal coming to me saying, okay, how did you and the principal talk about what was going on in the school? What exactly do they need? We always looked at test scores. So it's not like we weren't looking at things, but we did not look at it in the same model. So yes, we did look at data, but data only is one piece of it.
Right.
What's actually happening, the principal needs to know what's happening. And principals, we don't know. I didn't ever know everything. Teachers knew so much more than I did about instruction. But I knew what was awesome teaching, who had all of the things that they needed, and then that teacher can also be a mentor or, you know, provide coaching, mentorship for other teachers to be very specific on the things that they might need. So as a principal going in there, they might see so-and-so is really struggling with student engagement. And the principal doesn't have all the answers. Most of the time that teacher does once you ask them the correct questions. You know, they know it. So we work on questioning techniques instead of telling people what to do. How do you get it out of them? Because a lot of them know it, but they're so caught in, you know, what they're doing or what they think they should be doing. And if they're not realizing what strategies can you use, what are the elements of good engagement, there's a million teachers. You know, there's teachers all over buildings that can then support that person. And I do believe that teachers really learn well from other educators because they're doing the same thing they're doing every day.
Right.
And the further away from a classroom you get, you know, you don't have as much credibility. I mean, you know what's good, but to actually help train them, it's very effective to have teachers helping teachers.
It sounds like a long process, and it sounds very tailor-made per instructor. How long is this going to take?
My hope would be it would never go away.
Okay.
Because the minute you quit focusing on instruction at this level, then it tends to be, you know, nobody is really being held accountable or being provided resources even for what they might need.
Okay.
And everybody needs something different.
Sure.
So like some people, all of the things we initially worked on was instructional planning, which were all the areas that I talked about. Next, it's like looking at, do we have the correct assessments? How are we looking at data? What are we doing with the data? What do we do if students already know everything that we are trying to teach? You know, what if they already know the critical concepts in that grade level? Then what do we do next?
Right.
What do we do if they don't know it?
Yeah.
So there's so many different levels. So we're just at the very basic of instructional planning, making sure we have curriculum that it is scientifically researched, that we're using it with fidelity. And then there's so many other more in-depth areas that we'll need to focus on. So it's definitely not a one and done, walk through all this classrooms and be like, okay, well, we're done.
We're done, yeah, no, okay, I see.
So it's a growing.
How is it being received?
You know, I personally, when I've talked to teachers, I have great relationships with them. They've been positive. I think everybody, because it's something new, change is hard.
Yep.
We've not done it like this before. And I believe that the more teachers and administrators realize it is for kids, number one, every single thing we're doing is because it is what is best for kids. And the next, and we're all talking about this, every conversation that we have in any group, it always goes back to, is this what's best for kids? Is this what's best for kids? Is this what's best for kids? And the next thing, the most important next group of people after kids are the people directly related to teaching those kids. And that's a whole bunch of people. That's not just a classroom teacher, but the students and then the person who is trying to teach that child is that next most important person. It's not Lincoln Center,
Sure, no, right.
In any way, it's all should be starting with students. So I believe that once people realize it's not meaning to say people aren't doing things right, whether it's the principal or the teachers feel like that from their principal, it's about what can we do to best meet the needs of kids. I do believe that most people, not everyone, but most people are feeling better about it and more comfortable and confident in what they're doing because they've been given direction and expectations instead of just being like, well, you're not doing this, this, and this. That's not what it's about.
Okay. Let's talk about COVID briefly.
Okay.
Have we eased back into normal?
Yes.
Pretty much?
I would say so. It was devastating to so many, and not just kids, but staff. I mean, 3 months out of school, completely out of school, was very difficult for a lot of kids. And not just like a lot of people say, oh, well, lower socioeconomic students suffered. Of course they did, because they were denied even more opportunity to learn, but it was all students. It was students from all different levels of socioeconomic and other categories. But I believe we're still seeing a gap in learning because kids miss so much time. And then when they came back, then the next year, you had to be out if you were a close contact or if you had COVID. So
a lot of absence.
A lot of absences. And a lot of parents worried, scared about wanting to send their kids. A lot of kids did remote learning. But that is pretty much back where everybody is in attendance, everybody is in person, and just trying to make sure we're giving them the best instruction possible and to try to make up for any losses and gaps of learning.
Well, but you do sense that there's a bit of a gap that still exists. Do you think that will narrow by maybe the end of this school year?
I don't know, because what happened is every grade then, they missed part of this year and then part of the other year. My hope is that we start this, upward trajectory of improving the learning of students. I'm confident that that's going to happen if we continue to provide the support that we are doing, that the schools are receiving. That's the whole goal.
Yeah. Okay.
So yes, I'm confident and I'm hopeful that that will be the case.
Is remote learning still available if students want it?
On a very limited, for very limited students, there can be medical concerns, other concerns like that. We don't have many students. I don't know the exact number of students that are on remote learning, but it's not a huge number of students.
Okay, very good. Is there anything we missed? It sounds like you have so many challenges ahead of you, but you look so happy about it.
Yeah, I am happy. I actually retired for 10 days.
Well, there you go.
June. I retired in 10 days, and then when I had heard that they were going to change the way that things were done, it was going to be, we were going to be more in schools, supporting principals, helping teachers, that we would not be sitting at Lincoln Center. We would be out in the schools.
Right.
And that it was going to be for K-5 instead of K-12, that we were going to, make it so there was more effort on certain areas. So none of my colleagues who could have been doing this job that would have been amazing at it They're like, no, I want to stay in a school. And so I reapplied, and here I am.
Wow, that was a long retirement.
Yes.
Okay.
But it was good. I'm happy to have made the transition to the new position. I believe in what we're doing. I believe the educators in Billings Public Schools are amazing. And I will just continue to do what I can to support them and support students.
Very good. I want to thank you for being with us today on your schools. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Sounds like it's a lot.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us on your schools. We'll see you again next time.